Hi everyone! So today's video is going to be very highly requested video. And it's going to be how to get an A in A-level English and Spanish. I'm going to put them together because they have points that meet, so they can be grouped together. And I'm sorry it took so long to get this video up, but it has been really dark and the weather's been really bad. And today is kind of sunny, so I think I'm gonna do it. So, I have my book here with some notes, and let's get started. Okay, so we can start off with A-level English. I know there's different sort of exam boards which do things differently, and of course it's gonna change, but in general, most exam boards, what they do is have books that you need. For example, mine for A.S. was Dubliners, and for A2 it was Equus and Othello. So for all those books, basically, first off, I know it sounds stupid, but you need to read them, okay? You don't just need to read them, you actually need to know the book. Like, it's not okay to have read it and know what it's talking about. You need to know, like, each chapter exactly what's going on. You need to know the main points in that chapter. You need to know main themes in the chapter. And what I did was basically, for each chapter, I made like a sheet saying all the different things that were important in the chapter. So main themes, main characters, and like motivations of those characters. Because for Dubliners, like, the chapters were the stories, so it's a little bit different for that. But basically just summarize it per chapter, because in the exam you will need to go to like those chapters directly and know what you're doing straight away. You will not have time in the exam to like look around the book. You'll need to know exactly what's going on straight away. So make sure you know the books, make sure you know your way around the books. Then extra materials, you'll need to have extra materials. Like for English, our English teacher found a lot of them, and by the time I finished A2, I had a stack like about this high of just resources, extra resources. And this could be discussions about, like, if they're plays, for example, there's tons of discussions about plays. If they're something like Dubliners, which is very famous, then there's going to be a lot of discussion, and you need to kind of get other people's point of view on the text and kind of bring those together and make your own mixed idea of it. And that's what examiners want from you, especially for English. They want to see that you haven't just like seen the basics, like, oh, Othello is just a play about like something simple. It's about taking a play and breaking it down and looking, how does it relate to this, how does it relate to that, how's it a theme of this. They really want like an in-depth study, and that's where English is tricky, because you can think like, oh, how the hell am I gonna get an A, like, if it's not clear. It's basically just kind of showing that you've worked around the play and that or the book or the text, and that you've understood not just what the play is about, but sort of the surrounding theme of the play. And for English, you have a specific set of, like, I would say kind of learning objectives that you have. And those are written in the books, in the textbooks, and I can't remember now what they're called, but you need to know those, and your teachers for sure will tell you about them because they're really important. And if you download the syllabus, they're on the syllabus, and you need to know exactly how to answer those. Like, you need to know how to work your answer based on those, because those are what examiners want. So you should draw sort of lines between the books. For example, for Othello and Equus, which are very different plays. They're set in different times, very political differences in the setting. But there are still lines you can draw between the characters in terms of their personalities, how they behave, what they do, and how they see the world. That's how you need to kind of draw it together. Make it very in-depth. Make it also very critical. It needs to be you criticizing sort of what you think is going on and how you think it's developed throughout. That's what they want. They want a very critical analysis. So that's pretty much it for the like sort of text side of it. But for the exam, you need to make sure you know your terminology, make sheets, learn your terminology. It's at the back of your textbook. You need to know that. The exam needs to sound good. It needs to sound like you know what you're talking about, and it needs to be written in a specific way, which is why you need to know the terminology. And do practice essays. Our teachers used to set us essays, but they said, you know, I'm not gonna tell you like give it to me in 2 weeks. There was no deadline. Basically, if you wanted to do them, you just handed them in whenever you had them done. And if you didn't, you didn't. And loads of people didn't do them, and they had a lot of issues in the exam. So do them, like take them seriously. Just because it's not mandatory doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Next, for the coursework, guys, coursework is a gift. Like, you need to take advantage of coursework, and you need to take advantage of your teachers. Like, they want to help you. If you get your coursework done in time and done before the deadline, like a few weeks before, so that you can give it to your teacher and they can look through it, they will make sure you can get an A on it. And getting that A in your coursework is such a huge help because it gives you such a push to do better, you know, so your written exam isn't such a heavy weight on you if you need to do super well in it. So you need that A in your coursework, and your teachers will help you get an A if you do those simple steps. Take it seriously. Again, do your research, write about stuff you're interested in, write about stuff you know that you can kind of have a good approach to, and that can sound professional, sound written well. Like I used for one of mine, it was about, I think, Ebola or something like that, and it was something it was critical as well. Always keep it critical. Like, it wasn't just me listing a bunch of articles that I had read somewhere. It was me writing my own and kind of showing my own personal opinion of what I thought of it and what was going on. Okay, moving on to Spanish. Spanish can be complicated because for me, I speak Spanish, so because I lived in Spain, so I found that quite easy, but I was in a class with a lot of people who didn't, so I kind of got to see how they approached it. And for Spanish, the text you get, like, it depends what you do, but I did CIE, and for that they give you, I think it was 3 texts, and then you have a written exam and an oral exam. The oral exam is such a huge gift. I mean, you really need to take advantage of it and make sure you get full marks on that, because you have time to prepare for it. You have so much time. You have time to make sure you know it off by heart. You make sure that your teachers have heard it, that you've practiced it with them, that it's fluent when you say it, when you speak it, and that you're comfortable around the subject. So pick a subject you're comfortable around, because they will ask you questions and you need to be able to answer fluently. Yeah, pick something simple. I picked, mine was comparing Italian and Spanish food. It doesn't have to be anything, anything you pick, as long as you can speak about it and you can keep going and it can sound fluent. So your oral should be pretty good. You should be able to pull quite a high mark on it, because you will need to do a lot of practice if you're not a Spanish speaker. So I suggest you choose something simple that you can practice a lot and that you can get kind of help on. Written exam is pretty simple. It's just past papers. There's no other way to revise for that. There's no secret, nothing. It's just doing past papers. Try and do them all. There's not that many. And make sure you know exactly, because the exam is pretty much the same exam every year, just changing the content. The structure is always the same. You always get the same type of question. So make sure you know what's going on. Make sure you know how to answer it, and that you practiced, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. For the books, if you do have books, the books were quite complicated that I had. They were all written in Old Spanish, and they were quite complex texts. I thought it was it was not very fair on Cambridge's part to use those texts, but there's nothing you can do about it. So what I would say, definitely get them all read. The teacher usually reads them in class with you. Make sure you go to the lessons and make sure you take notes. And make sure you have it written down, because you won't remember everything that goes on in that book, and you will come to read it by yourself and you'll be like, oh gosh, I have no idea. And they will sometimes be popular books where you can find stuff on the internet, but sometimes they won't. So make sure You talk to your teachers, you ask them about stuff you don't know. Guys, like, don't be scared. Your teachers, like, they're there to help you. So just take advantage of them. Ask when you don't know. Make sure you take advantage of them. That's it, pretty much. Like, and in the exam, just remember to, like, always, for both exams, I guess, be calm and, like, be prepared. Pretty much, like, if you're prepared, there's nothing to be worried about. And for Spanish, that's pretty much being prepared, being, you know, ready, knowing what's going to be in the exam, knowing the text, knowing the terminology, knowing, like, the language that's used, knowing the main themes in Spanish as well. There's main themes in the text which are like gonna come up and up again, and the teacher says, you know, this is especially important. Take notes on that. Print out a copy. Write notes next to it. Memorize it. That's pretty much it. You know, languages are kind of hard to kind of come up with a concise way to do it because, for example, I don't have any English notes. I didn't take notes. I did take notes in the book, but it wasn't anything like of study, ooh, I need to study. It was just practice. Like, languages is practice, even for the exams. It's not about, ooh, I need to. The only thing I studied was terminology, and that's it. The rest was just reading around the books, reading around the subject, getting new resources, making notes on them. That's it. It wasn't like, it's not like chemistry where you just like need a certain way to make notes. That's just it. So yeah, if you just read resources and actually spend the time, because a lot of people think like, oh, a language, whatever. You need to spend time on it. Like, that's how you get an A, by actually committing to it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. I hope it helps you out. Again, leave me any suggestions below and I'll try and get it together if the weather permits. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye!